Hello and welcome to part 6 of the Mama You're Not Broken audiobook, written and read by me, Anna Cusack. This episode looks at loneliness, whether it's feeling physically isolated or emotionally alone in a crowded room. Early motherhood is a really paradoxical experience. It's pretty common to have very little time away from our babies, but also to feel really lonely, even without lockdowns. This is a social issue, even though it feels like a personal one. Enjoy. Before we start this chapter, I just want to remind you that you can order a physical copy of this book and also see a full reference list at www.annacusack.com.au/book. You can also head to that website to jump into my membership for either $35 Australian dollars a month standard price or $25 if you're experiencing financial pressure or identify as someone from a marginalised group. The membership is a subscription which gives you access to a monthly group workshop or online circle, 2 days of private voice message mentoring per month with me, and also includes an active allyship contribution to pay the people behind the diverse voices you'll be hearing from in season 3 of the podcast for their time and expertise. There are no lock-in contracts and you can sub in and out at any time. If you're not up for the whole membership deal but want to support the podcast and its guests, you can become a patron of the podcast for $5 a month. Okay, let's get started. Chapter 5. Loneliness. This morning I went to the toilet alone. I didn't have anyone pulling toilet paper off the roll or sitting on my lap while I urinated, and there was no one helping me to flush. I didn't talk to anyone either, and no one spoke to me. 2 days ago, I pulled up outside the local store and walked straight in. I didn't need to jostle a child into a trolley or commentate my every move. I did the groceries alone while listening to a podcast. Since when did performing personal hygiene tasks and domestic chores alone become my idea of quality time? Probably since I became a mother and entered a social role where basic tasks of adulthood are marketed as essential self-care that are meant to fill our cup and make us ever patient, never angry, coping well caregivers. I digress. The great paradox of modern motherhood is that there is such little time physically alone, yet simultaneously such intense feelings of isolation. It will surprise nobody to hear that physical isolation has been incredibly hard and stressful for mothers of children of all ages during the coronavirus pandemic. The task of doing it all inside your own four walls, particularly if you are mothering solo, is truly enormous and deserves a deep, thankful bow of appreciation for your efforts. Like many cracks in society that have been exposed by the pandemic, the problem of loneliness in motherhood existed beforehand, and for many mums, lockdowns have only worsened this disappointing state of affairs. The moment you find out you are pregnant is the moment you become aware that you are no longer physically alone, but have an ever-present inside buddy. Nausea and unpleasant symptoms of pregnancy may also become constant companions. At a time when women might need more support than ever before, they are either invisible in their socially acceptable 12-week wait, silence, or frowned upon for counting their chickens before they hatch, if they share their excitement earlier than social convention. Both have the potential to result in loneliness. Hyperemesis gravidarum, HG, is a condition involving severe and persistent vomiting that affects around 3 to 4% of pregnant women. Physiotherapist and HG advocate Caitlin Bywater explained it like this when announcing her third pregnancy at 6 weeks rather than waiting the stock standard 12. When I thought about it, I realised we just waited with our last 2 pregnancies because we just thought that was what you did. Turns out they were the times I needed help from people the most. I was hospitalised with my eldest at least 3 times before I was 12 weeks pregnant. I had stopped work. I had lost 20% of my body weight. I couldn't wash myself without passing out. By waiting until 12 weeks to announce, are we denying these women support? Are we leaving them to grieve the beautiful pregnancy they hoped for or suffer physically and mentally in isolation? There is no right or wrong time to announce your pregnancy, and personal experience of pregnancy loss can influence your course of action. I am merely pointing out that loneliness in early pregnancy is a thing, a thing that is socially constructed in a way that means we have the power as a collective of women to change it. Truth be told, even before those two pink lines appear, loneliness can arise from the moment you decide you want to be pregnant. A lengthy fertility journey can feel exceptionally isolating. You may find yourself feeling lonely or even defective in some way as the women around you fall pregnant, birth, and bemoan stretch marks. As women approach birth, or perhaps earlier in the case of complications, the line between your pre-baby life and transition to motherhood may be clearly marked. Many women going on maternity leave will be given some kind of send-off on their final workday, perhaps with a hamper of baby-related items and instructions to sleep while you can. Surely anyone who says this has never been heavily pregnant. It is astonishing how quickly the people you see in person 5 days a week become the people you speak to only sporadically from afar. If we imagine our various social networks as branches of a tree, with mama as the trunk, it can feel like a limb has been lost when work ends. When baby arrives, other networks can be abruptly cut too. Maybe your yoga instructor and the yogis on their mats beside you are continuing their classes without you. You might not venture to your favourite cafe for a while, and the people who nod their head to you on your morning walk are going about their usual routine while yours looks completely different. These may not be the biggest branches of the tree, but with little ones being lopped left, right and centre, you can start to feel those winds of loneliness blowing through. Well-wishers can abound in the early days and weeks, then disappear into a fog of not wanting to intrude or being busy with their own lives. After the first couple of weeks with your baby, even the midwifery services, providing the greatest continuity of care, sign on the dotted line that your time under their wing has come to an end. Your partner, if one is present, generally slots back to their usual job on their usual roster. Many women kiss their partner goodbye, only to look around an empty house and realize that they are now totally alone with a baby who needs them for all things at all times. At a time that our village of sisters, aunts, grandmothers, cousins and friends should be going gaga over baby and supporting us at every turn, modern Western postpartum women are alone, with only a sink full of dirty dishes, daytime television and a microwave lunch for company. It was never meant to be like this. Traditional cultures the world over have revered women post-birth for as far as historical records can tell us. New mothers across every continent are cocooned in love, given privacy but support in the home, fed nutrient-rich foods, massaged, kept warm, listened to and encouraged to rest and recover as the creative yet vulnerable goddesses that they are. In his book, The Postnatal Depletion Cure, physician Dr. Oscar Serelak laments that much of the traditional knowledge about optimal care of new mothers has been lost from Western culture. What modern science is discovering, however, is what every mum already knows. We are not designed to be physically alone with a baby. Remember how the brain starts decluttering and reorganizing while you're pregnant? As well as helping grow the baby, the placenta also stimulates mama's brain to grow extra receptors for the hormone oxytocin. You might have heard of oxytocin before as an important hormone for birth, as one of its jobs is to make the uterus contract. The synthetic forms of this hormone are the ones that are used to induce and speed up labour. Oxytocin is important for more than just birth. It is a hormone that does wonders for connection, feeling loved up, reducing stress, and making mums more resilient to both sleep deprivation and boredom. Oxytocin is meant to tide you over in terms of feel-good hormones between the sudden teariness of the day 3 blues, where progesterone and estrogen drop rapidly, until around 6 to 12 weeks post-birth, when they come back online and your emotions can start to stabilize. How to get more of the good stuff that is oxytocin? Things that make you feel connected and enveloped in love boost levels. Reassuring eye contact, an arm wrapped around your shoulder, gentle massage, swaying to your favorite music with someone you love, orgasms and breastfeeding. Not too many women are up for sex the first few weeks or months after birth, but babies give you plenty of opportunities to try the last option, and having your inner circle around you should help cover the rest. Whenever your baby suckles at the breast, it sends feedback to your body and brain that it's time for the milk to flow from the milk storage areas in the breast to the nipple. This process is called the letdown and can be accompanied by a short tingling or stinging feeling. When you get a letdown of breast milk, you also get a hit of oxytocin. This is also why after pains, labour-like contractions that happen when the uterus is shrinking after birth, often occur when breastfeeding. The trouble is, mums need to feel safe in order for the letdown reflex to occur in a timely way, if at all. Usually it takes a minute or two of suckling before the letdown comes and the baby starts gulping milk. But if mum is on high alert, it may take several minutes for the milk to become available, particularly if there is a problem with painful latch. Baby starts fussing or refusing to feed, and mum feels there must be something wrong. Low supply is often blamed, but there is plenty of milk sitting up there in the breast's glandular tissue. It just can't be released to the nipple because stress is blocking the letdown reflex. Now mum is in an even worse position than before, alone, concerned about her baby, feeling like a failure for being unable to breastfeed, and missing out on the feel-good hormone hit that's meant to prop her up emotionally in the early weeks post-birth. Mum might not even realise she is on high alert status, but being physically alone, under stress, or feeling emotionally unsupported by the people present with her can be all it takes to trigger this biological response. It's not safe here, our risk-averse brain tells us. Wait until there are people here to protect you and your baby while he breastfeeds. My mother-in-law recalls how she breastfed her second son until he was 7 months old. She remembers feeling hugely stressed when her husband suddenly took ill and says, "It was as if my milk dried up overnight." In the 1970s, no one could explain to her what might have been happening physiologically in regards to her stress stopping the letdown reflex. I wish I could say that this had improved and modern mums got better information, but I'd be lying. 4.5 decades later, mothers are still more likely to be met with a sympathetic nod and the words, "fed is best," than have anyone talk through ways you could feel more held and secure. Imagine a system where the GP could write a certificate for your partner or sister to take a few days off work to care and cook for you, or book a massage therapist to come to your house to help you relax. How much more confident would nursing mothers feel if the pharmacist could offer to hook up a video call with an IBCLC on the spot before pointing them to the formula section of the shop? I am not saying breastfeeding is the be-all and end-all. The point I am making here is that mothers and babies suffer when mums are prematurely isolated from their support people and evidence-based information is withheld from them. I am also not saying mums need someone with them 24/7 to function, although I know some mums who choose share housing or living in close proximity to other families for this reason. Instructing mothers to take and enjoy alone time, to fill their cup, is futile if the reason it is empty is that they are isolated and lonely in the first place. What we need as mothers is time to enjoy the company of our kids with other grown-ups, rather than being in full supervision mode all day, for someone to sub in when we need a break from the constancy of small children, to celebrate babies' first steps with us in real life instead of videoing them alone. For all my bluster of being an independent woman, motherhood has shown me that I am far from it. If I have had company for even some of the day, I am far less likely to throw my child at my husband the minute he walks through the door, forcing the words, "I just can't even," through gritted teeth. I recognise that being able to pass her off for a time out at the end of a long day is a luxury that many single and solo mothers don't have at all, especially not during lockdowns. If this is you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your work, and I hope it is not too long until you can wrap your arms around another mother who just gets it and let it all out. While having the backup of another adult can help a great deal, having someone physically present with you doesn't mean you are immune from loneliness as a mum. It can feel incredibly isolating when someone is physically with you but undermines your mothering by failing to take time to listen to and understand your perspective, or spends their visit instructing or critiquing you. This is particularly hurtful when it is someone you thought you could count on, like your best friend or your own family. Feeling misunderstood within previously loved-up partner relationships can be especially crushing. Even if you are co-parenting like clockwork, it can be hard to describe what is happening inside of you to someone whose life hasn't changed that much because of the arrival of their child. In her book, What Mothers Do, Naomi Stadlin argues that it is this inability to communicate the enormity of the inner transformation taking place in early motherhood that leaves women feeling misunderstood and alone. When the language around the process of becoming a mother is missing from our societal vocabulary, how can we properly explain to our partners what it feels like to be us? To articulate why the pull to meet our child's survival and developmental needs is so strong. To fully express why the choices we make around child raising practices are so important to us. According to author and mama mentor Amy Taylor Kabaz, matrescence is the word new mothers need to know and embrace to give voice to this experience. Just like adolescence is the transition from child to adult, matrescence is the transition period from maiden to mother that happens over the early years of motherhood, not overnight. As with adolescence, our priorities and perspectives can shift dramatically. This is the time when we look at ourselves in the mirror and ask, who is this woman staring back at me? The one who answers to the same name, yet is so different, inside and out, from the one I have known. In many respects, the woman who is mum is as much a stranger to herself as the new baby in her arms. There is a hormonal storm taking place, a changed body to come to terms with, and major shifts happening in our key relationship dynamics. All in all, it's pretty similar to the messy middle years of high school all over again, with more responsibility and hopefully less acne. As matrescence happens over many years, it takes time to learn what is important to the new you. What gets prioritized in this season of your life and what falls away might come as a surprise. Your passions may be the same as before baby arrived, or take a totally different and unforeseen direction. Sometimes, through becoming a mother, a woman may feel she unlocks previously unseen facets of herself that glue the separate pieces of her life and self-concept together. Some find the opposite to be true and are left feeling unmoored and adrift. None of these are right or wrong, and each of our journeys is unique. However the transition to motherhood plays out for you, it is a momentous task to navigate life with a new child and a new self simultaneously. Modern mothers are asked to go through this process without the communal holding, ritual and ceremony that have been our birthright for thousands of generations, while balancing a laundry basket on the other hip and finding out why the electrician didn't show up. The problem of loneliness and the process of matrescence both continue well after the newborn phase has passed. In some respects, it can even be intensified as the constancy of the child's needs lessen, and we realize during the in-between moments that there is no one there for us to interact with. Seeing a child play without your involvement can be both gratifying and spark intense sadness all at once. This is the time that we might seek to be an adult, but really be numbing out, scrolling social media, guilty, or hiding around the corner snacking, also guilty. The call to build our own supportive village is a loud one inside the minds of many a lonely mother. Some mothers find fulfillment by returning to kid-free activities or paid work earlier than they had anticipated. For the majority, the most accessible places for mums to add branches to their decimated social network tree is through kid-friendly groups and activities. Where I live in Australia, new mums are shuttled into mothers groups based on the date your baby was born and your geographical location. Some are a great hit, and women keep in contact as their children learn to crawl, start school, and even reach parenthood themselves. My experience was not like this, and I felt excruciatingly alone in a crowded room. One mum friend reports feeling conflicted going to her mother's group where she liked the other mums, but felt judged as her child was slower reaching movement and communication milestones than their peers. Another felt deflated that she was unable to share what life was truly like for her without being shut down. She was generally enjoying being a mum and felt the others around her were competing to see whose life was the hardest. Another, with an 8-year gap between her kids, felt left out in the cold when the health nurse told her that the local mothers groups were only for first-time mothers. Alongside this, the male-controlled media stokes the fire of the mummy wars, which does its best to separate women down ideological lines. Those with strong opinions about certain parenting practices, or those who fear derision from other mums about the choices they make, often make their own niche groups in response. This can bring great comfort and a sense of sisterhood to members. It can also further alienate them from the mainstream mums and perpetuate the division between women that is made up and reinforced by patriarchy. One day, I saw a group of mothers at a local park, literally sitting in a big circle under trees. They wore gorgeous boho floral dresses, floppy straw hats, and went barefoot. They wandered casually after their children in pairs or sat chatting on a rug. I was excited to see that I knew one of the mothers in their group and got up the courage to speak with her by the swings. "How do you all know one another?" I asked. "It looks like a really nice get-together." "Well, it's private, but it's a group of us who've chosen not to vaccinate our kids. We get together monthly." "Is your daughter vaccinated?" she asked hopefully. My answer would determine if I was allowed to make friends that day or stay lonely. I plugged into online groups and remain active in a couple where I feel I belong as me, rather than trying to contort myself to fit in. That said, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that social media can be a force for both good and evil in the motherhood arena. While I have learned a huge amount on social media, the algorithms that determine what posts we see can mean we find ourselves in an echo chamber of voices that suggest there are only precious few ways that parenting can be done right. In such a contextual vacuum, we are blinded from the innumerable options that exist, which may actually work better for us and our families. While connecting us with adult conversation and information can be wonderful, social media also trains us to seek the instant gratification of likes, loves, and comments over the slow burn growth that we see in our day-to-day interaction with our children. I am ashamed to admit that I have at times found myself connected to those far from me at the expense of those physically closest to me, including my daughter in the same room. Even when I know the behind-the-scenes workings of mum guilt, that still bites hard. Cultivating connections doesn't always take effort, but it does take courage. I came across Serena by chance when she responded to my online listing of pre-loved baby clothes. By the time she came to collect them a few days later, my baby was 6 weeks old and had been cluster feeding like a vampire on steroids all week. "How do you do it with a baby and a toddler?" I asked, viewing her clean clothes and brushed hair with equal parts awe and suspicion. Her response? "I wear the little one, a lot. Also coffee and lots of biscuits." She told it how it was, and I'm so grateful that I followed up this short but promising lead. An educational consultant and mum of two, Serena was confident in her mothering. The way she interacted with her kids made sense to what I knew about child development, yet she didn't offer me any advice unless I asked for it. It surprised me when she admitted that she still felt on the outer with other mums she knew, many of whom were set on following the books rather than their babies. "I don't mind going against the current. I just want someone to swim with," she lamented. It seemed I wasn't the only one feeling isolated. The strategy of keeping us separate from each other is a clever one, and it may take imagination rather than intellectualism to transcend it. In her book, Mama Rising, Taylor Kabaz shares one of the personal strategies that helped her through some of the most isolating times in her motherhood journey. Should we find ourselves comforting a child in the middle of the night or at any other low, "how will I ever get through this" moment, she suggests we imagine all the mothers in our street, suburb, city, state, country, and continent doing the hard yards with us. See them patting, shushing, feeding, rocking, pacing in this exact moment, giving their children as much love as you are giving yours. Feel that love seep through your skin, warming you before you pass it on to your own child, she says. I breathe in that energy, that mother energy, and the strength of all those women, and I am stronger again. If you can't find the strength from within, draw on ours. You can use ours until you find your own again. I have drawn on that exercise and that mother energy many times. I continue to draw strength from the women around me when I need it, and donate it back when my supply is plentiful. What I have come to recognize is that the mothers who strengthen me most are the ones I have connected with based on my own interests and the vibe I've gotten from them, not the age of my baby. They are the ones who I have just met or have known for my whole life. They are the ones who check in regularly or infrequently, either in person, online, or both, and never tell me that my copious amounts of baby spam photos are excessive. They are the ones who don't do chit-chat and go straight to soul-deep verbal vomits. These mental detoxes are best sent through voice message clips when they have space to record them, and listened to when I have space to pay them my full attention, rather than phone calls when we are both trying to wrangle children. They are the ones who say, "Oh, babe, I hear you. How can we make this better for both of us?" Instead of, "You think now is bad? Just wait until they are 2, 3, 9, 14. They are the ones who love me without question and think of my child as theirs, and would do so whether I had 1 kid or 6 of them. The mothers who strengthen me most are the ones who believe we're not meant to do this alone. Reach out to someone. If it doesn't work, they're not your people. Take a deep breath and reach out to someone else. Keep on reaching until the hand you find is the one you've been searching for. Then reach together for your next accomplice. Be brave and build the momentum. This is how we reclaim the village. Together we can do this. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Please remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review, and share with anyone you feel may benefit from this content. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join me on social media at Anna Cusack Postpartum, and head to my website www.annacusack.com.au to check out the ways we can work together. Please use the contact form on the website to inquire about having me run workshops with your client groups, or book me for corporate speaking or professional development presentations. See you next episode.